right, good morning, West Georgia. This is your library manager, Rachel. Hey, how you doing? Coming to you live from my house. Hello. I don't know if we've got anybody in here. It's just me, I think. I think it's just me. I think I am the, hey! No, it's Maddie. Hey, Maddie, good morning. Good morning. I'm really excited to get started on writing this morning. So I have all of my supplies. So it's National Novel Writing Month. And every year for National Novel Writing Month, I participate in what's called Nanowrimo, National Novel Writing Month. And you are supposed to write 50,000 words in a month. I have never done that, but I have done other things. So I wrote an academic article that was, it's about 15,000 words, but it's like a different kind of writing, so it's a lot more intense. So I did that one year for Nano. I edited my PhD dissertation one year as a nano project. So I've had different kinds of nano projects. But this year I am editing my manuscript, a manuscript that I wrote, that I've written in NaNoWriMo settings, but I haven't really finished yet. So I am doing kind of a final edit on that work. And I do it a little bit differently, I think, than a lot of people. I do it manually first. I actually write down everything into most of the draft into a journal, and then I'll supplement with typing. So it's labor intensive for me, but that's the only way that the words actually sound right. And then everybody's got their own process. So then I type it. I do a lot of stuff while it's sort of in the digital realm. I'll do a lot of editing, sort of big edits, and then I will print it out, which is something that I think most novelists recommend. I'm not a novelist, I'm just, an amateur, but is to just print it out and read it. Actually, a lot of people recommend that you read it to yourself out loud, because that is how people will actually hear the text, and you can catch a lot of sort of syntax issues and flow and sort of the poetry and the tone of the work. Also the speed of the work if you choose to do it that way. So I am at the point where I print it out by hand, and you can see I'm on chapter 35. And then I am doing just sort of hand, you can see some of them there. Some really, really small hand edits. I don't really do move this chapter here at this stage, because that would be a lot of labor to do by hand. That's just not necessary. So if I were doing that, then I would do it digitally. There is also in the background, there is a Google Meets option. So if you would like to join me in a very literal way and join the Google Meets, you're welcome to do so. I will be here from 10 to 12. So if you also know a novelist who wants to kick off their NaNoWriMo, right? This is the second Saturday of the month, but we were shut down last Saturday because of the power was out at Neva Lomason a lot longer than it was in the rest. A lot of other parts of Carroll County it was down until Sunday. So that was frustrating, but we made it back. We're back stronger than ever this week. So that's really, I'm just going to be sitting here writing with you, and then you can join me. I might turn on some music. Mandy, is that a thing I can do? I don't know if you're still there, Mandy, but maybe I can figure that out. Do some Mozart to help us write. I don't know. So I'm just going to be doing that. And so it's mostly just going to be my head that you will see. But I actually am really, really looking forward to this time, because, I got two little kids. One's just turned 5 and one's about 20 months old. So they're amazing, but they make it really hard to focus on anything like, oh yeah, it was the 31st. That's right. I knew that. Right. So this is the first Saturday of the month. They make it really hard to focus on just what I need to do as a creative person. I think most people think of themselves as a creative person. I'm not a creative preneur or anything like that. I just like to do it occasionally, as everyone should. I taught myself how to watercolor last year. It did not go well. It did not. But that happened. That was a phase. Went through that phase. So let me see I wonder if I turn on Mozart on my end, if y'all can hear it. For some reason, Mozart in particular helps me focus. Um, and so a lot of times people will come in and I'll be doing statistics or something mindless like that. But I mean, you have to focus on it, but you can't really. Yeah, thank you, Mandy. Mandy thinks my watercoloring is just fine because Mandy's the nicest. Let's see. Oh yeah, I forgot I did that. I watercolored some books. Let's skip. I mean, the not literal books. Never mind. It doesn't matter. So I will have my music going. You can have your music going. And if you would like to join me, through the Google Meet, so that I can actually talk to you and we can chat about writing books and the pain that it is, I would love to do so. So that's what I'm doing. Mandy, can you hear my music? Are you still there? Can you hear my music? I'm afraid people are just going to be staring at my head. So maybe I'll put it in the chat here so that you can join Google Meets if you want to. My dog just joined the right in. Come on, B. Come here. Nope. Oh, she just gave over and showed me her belly. She's like, I'm done. Okay, there you are. It's more entertaining to watch the dog, I think. All right. So that's the Google Meets link. If you would like to join me, I'm here from 10 to 2. I'm going to write that actually down in the text. Google Meets from 10 to 2. All right. Bing. Made the bing noise. Oh! Hey. I'm just surprised. I didn't realize that you would be. It made the ding noise. It said that somebody joined my Google group. And it's you in the dark. Do you know that you're in the dark? Okay. Did you change your hair? I like it. It's nice. Yeah, I think that's a nice fall color. Excellent. Ooh. All right. All right. No, it's no. There's no. It's just you and me in that space. And I don't think that it comes through the live. I'm not entirely sure if it's on Facebook. Oh, okay. All right. Well, I like it. That's true. That's true, isn't it, B? Isn't it, sweetheart? Yay! Okay. Okay. All right. Well, good. Well, that's the point, is that you do whatever you can and like set some time aside for the process of writing, right? That's what we're here. So whatever. Whatever you What are you doing? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I apologize. Yeah. Yeah. It's so dark. I can't see you at all. Do you own a lamp? Oh, there's one. We're going back to the porch, aren't we? Okay, cool. I'm just trying to figure out where we are in the processor. I see. I see. Okay. No, no. Oh, that's nice. Also, the porch is nice. That's a good. Yeah, and that's a good idea. Is to kind of get outside while it's you still can. Hmm. 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 Yeah. Make it a me space. Very nice. What is going on? Not knowing where the things are. Yeah. Yeah, that's the hard thing about not having designated space and then not being able to invest in a designated space, because then you're like, oh, I'm moving. I don't want to make these, you know, organizing principles and stuff. Yeah. You see, exactly. I'm using my fancy fountain pen. I got a new one. Well, every time I let somebody will see it and hey puppy, hey honey. Oh, you look so much better. You look good. Yeah. Uh, so people will see me use it and then they'll want to use it and then they'll break it. So I've lost two pens that way. Two fountain pens. Fair enough. No, okay, I may have done that to you, but I did not do that to the car salesman that broke it. My last one. Oh, uh-huh. Uh-huh. Like the literary witch's oracle. The literary witch's oracle, right? Mm-hmm. 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 Oh, oh, very nice. Okay. That's a lot. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That is nice. Yeah, I think it's good to have something organized like that. Kind of gamify it a little bit. Yeah. That's a good idea. Yeah. Oh, great. A little bit. Yeah. What's a wolf? Oh, yeah. What is that? Hi, Toni Morrison. You are the best. You're just the best. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, just all the different facets of it. What a great complicated writer. I mean, her works are just outstanding. Uh, all right, so you're gonna kind of sit down, hang out, and then is the music bothering you? Can you hear it at all? Here, I turned it off so that I could hear you really well. Is this okay? Is it too much? it's not. Yeah, it's not very loud. Hmm. I don't. I know. So I think it's okay. Actually, I'm not sure. There's too many people. I think. Oh, there's one person. But it's. I just want to make sure that it's not too boring just seeing my face as I am just doing the write-in, and I just want people to join me and chat with me. But yeah, and they can see the text, the previous text, right, that other people have written, so they can see the title and everything, and the you're not seeing anything in the chat. Oh, fair enough. Mhm. All right. Well, I guess I'll just start writing, and that'll be cool. You think that's okay? Okay. Cool. Wait. Yeah. If you're not busy this morning, I mean, you got things. You're gonna do it. You're gonna do it. Okay. Sounds good. All right. Then I'll just start writing, and then people can join me if they want. Okay. I'm gonna make it obvious that I'm writing. Okay. Trying to get myself set in the most presentational way so that it makes sense what I'm doing, like with the pen up and everything. It's not like, see, I'm writing. Yeah, me and the pillows are having a battle right now. Well, that's why it's all physical for me. That it's I have to print out every single of the 331 pages out, or it doesn't happen. Oh, oh, I got two of you, and now it's going whoop whoop. So, what are you writing about this morning?
Put it all in a doc.
Mm-hmm.
So I am transferring everything from here
Mm-hmm.
to online.
Yeah, that makes sense. You kind of want to do it in the doc first because it will correct it'll catch some of the spelling errors really, and you can go back and tweak it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, without sort of altering your altering what you're doing. Hello, person. Somebody just clicked on us, by the way. Welcome to the West Georgia Nanowrimo write-in. So we're writing together. Feel free to get a pen and hang out and write with us, or join the Google Meets. I think you can see it. I think people can see it. So usually it's interesting with Facebook Live is that at the beginning I think it pushes it really hard to the top, and then it sort of fades out a little bit as we go, because now the person's gone. It's just me. I don't know if but well, as it appears to other people though. I think that if other people, well, yeah. So it's not pushing to the top as much. What? Sorry, what? Oh, Gila's 11. That's right. I did see that. I did see that on there, which is exciting. She is kind of the best. So happy to have her. Yeah, yeah. I and I just feel like it's such a huge service that we're starting to grow and having that network available to us. It's the hardest thing when you're trying to work with public libraries and public institutions where it's infinite the number of people that you could serve. Right? It is literally everyone in the community could benefit from the library. So having someone who already has a social network developed is so pivotal. So that's fantastic. So yeah. Hmm. Hmm. Really? Yes, all of it. Yeah. Hmm. That's fantastic. We'll have to see. I saw that Snap Ed is also looking for more engagement with the library, and we're talking business now. I just realized that. I'm sorry. I just get excited. I get excited about. Mhm, mhm, mhm. It is a deep dark hole. Forever. Mm. Oh. Mm. Mhm, 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 mhm. Of all this just made me think of all of the bullet journal people that I watch. You should check out the one named, her name is Plant Based Bride, because I think she has a tarot spread that she did, and it's all gold and black and very elegant. She's very, very elegant like that. But her other thing is she's a bullet journaler slash booktuber. And I think you have identical taste in books. Come to think of it, I don't watch her booktubes very often because I don't um, she and I don't really cross over in books, but now that I think about it, I think that you guys would, and that's really the whole point, is to find something that you are interested in, like these beautiful cards, and then transition that into something creative, right? So that's really cool. But I think that you would be inspired by her stuff. So. Hmm. 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 You'll just have to find. No, you'll just have to change up the game. the game that you're playing will have to be different. So it'll have to be the 25 days of gratitude, all through December or something like that, or cozy things that are cozy, something else that you find very warm and friendly, similar to the tarot cards, but that, does that make sense? Right, more towards the, yeah. And then you can change it in the new year into like the new you. So the game can change as long as the practice remains. Right. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. I mean, if you like the practice, that's just keep doing it. Fountain pen. My dog has given up on this whole. She's done writing for the day. She's out. Done.
She's cute.
Her name is Beatrice, and she is named after Much Ado About Nothing, Shakespeare's Much Ado About Nothing main character. So, just so you know. Ah, no, not this one. This one's a card. So, right, right, B. She's not mysterious. She's like, this is base mode here. Okay, okay. Are you ready to write? Are you writing? I don't want to disrupt your writing because you got shorter time. Okay, okay. Sounds good. All right. No! Just get whatever you can. And then keep writing physically. I don't have to be here. This is your writing time. Yeah. I underestimated how much silence there would be. And now there are 4 people watching me silently. I underestimated that factor in my ability to focus. I can do this. Okay. Hi, Jessica. Oh, it's Mandy. It's Amanda Johnson, who's the programming coordinator. She's she's writing in the Google Meets room. So if you join the Google Meets, you can see. Oh wait, it's just me. Her computer ran out of batteries. But if you join the Google Meets, then it's like I can see you and you can see me, and we can hold each other accountable to keep writing and stuff. So I don't know. Can you see that that there's a Google Meets link up in the chat up there? Because you can't. No pressure though. I mean, you're probably doing other things, but I hope those other things are writing because it's Nanowrimo. So get your coffee or whatever beverage of choice and get to work. That's how I feel about it. That's how I feel about it this year. You know. Ooh. Hey. And see, now nobody's going to know. Oh, it's Mandy. Hey, you're back. I can't hear you now. Oh, there you are. I don't know what just happened. This is my 2018 Spring Directors mug that Lee gave me because he told me he loved me, but then he didn't put a door in that slot between the two circulation counters, so I think he doesn't love me after all. Yeah. He's actually trolling me. That's what I've decided. I thought you loved me. You gave me a mug. And then you put a wall in the middle of my circulation desk. Maybe it is because he does love me and he wants us to slide over it constantly. I told him we would. Multiple times. That doesn't happen. This is sorry. Hmm? Jessica's in the chat, and I was talking to her about she's working on a short story. Wait, what? What? Oh, so he's gone. He's a goner. You need a docile buddy like mine, like this. Well, that's nice of you. But yeah, but I was telling Jessica, I was saying earlier, well, when I first started, my first nano project was actually to finish my dissertation, right? So it wasn't actually 50,000 anything. And this is I've never made 50,000 words my goal because I would do terrible writing if I did that, and I just can't make myself, fit into that. But there are projects that take intense amount of labor, but maybe aren't quite so fun. So one year I wrote an academic article about Full Metal Alchemist that somebody actually published. I can't believe they did that, but they did. And have you ever did you know that, man? I did, yeah. It's actually about Full Metal. It's about Full Metal Alchemist fan fiction, and it's in an established, like not a joke journal either. It's in a real one. It's in a real one. That was intense. But that was my nano project from maybe 2 years ago, and then last year it was to finish a full draft because I have a tendency to start stories and not finish them. So write that last third and not really make excuses for it. And then this year it's doing the stupid editing work, just the little, like, why do I have just over there when it should be over here? So all that sort of stuff. And then once I'm done with this, I'm almost done. I'm on page 268 out of 330, which doesn't sound like almost done, but it is. Because the last third is actually a lot stronger than the first third, unfortunately. So once this is done, I will try to self-publish it. I've actually already queried this work, and I got about, Mandy's already heard this spiel, but I got about 10% request for full manuscript, which is actually a really strong number, but the responses that I got back were very, if you ever read this work, The inspiration work for it is a book by Douglas Copeland called Worst Person Ever. And what I love about that book, it's one of my favorite books of all time, is that Douglas Copeland does not apologize for how terrible his protagonist is. It's fantastic. It's kind of a Candide-esque thing where they almost blow up the world in a nuclear holocaust because he's the worst person ever. So it just makes sense. And so I wanted to write this kind of awful person that you still wanted to be with, that you still wanted to hang out with. And I got responses back that were like, I don't think that she fits into young adult literature. She's she's too mean. And it's like, well, I can't really rewrite this book to make her a nice person. That's a different book. So I got a lot of responses like that were, she's a video gamer. So things that were like, we really need her to be a better role model for young people. I'm like, oh, I did not write that book. I can't do that for you. So now I feel like I'm rambling a little bit. It's probably because there's a camera on me. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm gonna stop now. But that's Jessica, are you still there? Am I talking to myself? I feel like I might be. I mean, not to myself. There's other people here, but I mean, I was rambling at you. I just realized it. So anyway, as a result, I think I'm going to try and just publish it myself from our social media platforms, which are my husband has a YouTube channel that has about 60,000 subscribers, so we'll use that as a jumping off point. So, oh, this is going to live on the internet forever, and everybody's going to know that about me. Nobody's going to make it this far into the video part of it. When this becomes a video, nobody's going to be like, I'm going to watch Rachel for 37 minutes. Anyway, so it's, yeah, here we go. All right, I'm writing now. My fountain pen. I love my fountain pen. Oh, good. Oh, good. You are there. I'm so worried. You tell me about your project now. I'll give you time to type. I'm gonna make corrections. Sorry. Yeah, it's mostly because my protagonist. Sorry, I'm just not reading what you wrote. My protagonist is fairly young, so but she's 18, so she's on that weird edge of young adult and adult, and that was a choice that I made, knowing that it would be a difficult challenge because she is immature, so she's too immature for an adult audience to really fully connect with, but she is not young adult. There's sort of a pedantic turn in young adult literature right now where everything has to be instructional. Um, I have a lot of opinions about why that might be, but it does seem to be that it's not checking the boxes of models appropriate social behavior. Therefore, it's not going to work for the trends right now, and that's fine. Um, but that just means that I'm going to have to. I mean, I'm not a professional writer. I just going to find a different route, and that's fine. I don't know how, what, oh. Oh, well, you're the only one that wants in to the Google Meets. But no, it does not prompt me that people want in. So if you do want into the Google Meets, hmm? It let you in. Oh, it did not ding on my end. It did not make any sort of ding noise. I'll just keep checking it. I'm just on Facebook because people are conversing over there, I think. More. I'm trying to do the thing and also the writing thing, and I don't know how to balance. Well, I don't want to just, what I'm worried about actually is not me getting writing done. It's me distracting other people who have joined the write-in with my yammering. Man, you know I can talk all day. I'm not worried about it. Okay. Okay. So I should just talk about how I feel about writing. Well, I'm doing a scene right now that nobody asked about. I'm doing a scene right now that's really fun because it harkens back to, it's almost identical to a scene that happened in chapter 3. And now I'm working on chapter 35. So it's really, it's one of the scene where the protagonist, she lives in a house full of boys because she's on an esports team, and they one at a time appear in her room at her door, and she realizes what living in a house full of 20 something disgusting men really means. And then she's sort of yeah. There are four of them. There are five of them in this scene, and there were four of them in the other scene. But they just sort of pop in one at a time, and she's like, "Get out!" And so I like doing that, and I think that as a reader, I enjoy those parallel scenes. So as a writer, I wanted to include one, and it kind of happened a little bit naturally, but I think that that's really important, is having those mirror moments, mirror phrases. Readers really connect to those moments. It's also, I can tell that I'm taking in the advice of one of my favorite writing books. Oh, now I'm trying to remember the name of it. I mean, why am I blanking all of a sudden? It's by Matt Bird. It's so good. No. Anyways, the book by Matt Bird. There's only one book by Matt Bird on this subject. He writes for television a lot. But he came out of Columbia, which is to me a really interesting program. I actually have a friend from graduate school who started out in Columbia, and the my impression of the Columbia MFA program for writers is that it's very pay to play, so they don't care. They do excellent work, but they're not going to handhold you the way that some other writing programs are. It's really interesting how that happens with MFA programs. Like if you come out of Iowa, I feel like you're going to have a really strong sense of metaphor. Um, and the same thing happens in theater. If you're a theater MFA, if you are a Yale grad, you basically are a clockmaker, and you make incredibly beautiful clocks. Like Kenneth Lynn, who wrote for what's that TV show? House of Cards, right? So he came out of the Yale School of Drama, and you can that clockwork feel is in all of that, is in House of Cards. That's really what they're looking for in their writers. As opposed to if you come out of Brown University, you're basically writing an extended dream sequence your entire life, and that's who they turn out. So if you are looking at MFA programs, it really take a look at the grads list, like the recent grads list, and say, do I one day want to write like that? Oh, what's another one? The one that Utah. What's that school in Utah that turns out tons of writers? Do you remember this one? What is that one? They're a Mormon. They're a Mormon school. Hmm. Does anybody remember who what I'm thinking of? They turn out a lot of writers, but their specialization is sci-fi. In fact, Brandon Sanderson went there, as did the guy who writes with him, who does a podcast with him, who wrote Blue Screen and the serial killer series. Let me just make sure nobody wants that in the Google Meets. So they turn out professionalism, right? You write prolifically, you write strong, and you are ready to be published, right? So it doesn't seem to be as much about exploring your work as an artist. And actually, the program that I went to the Ohio University to get my PhD, and we were partnered with their MFA playwright program, and we worked with them, and their program is very much about getting it done, getting the work done. And for a lot of people, that's why they're in an MFA program, is to have 3 years of focus that's just about writing. But they had a class you'd sign up for as a playwright. All the playwrights had to sign up for it. And you would start writing a play on Monday on a theme. You would not know what the theme was before Monday. And you would produce it on Friday every week of the year. Yeah. And it was just, the output was bananas. And it wasn't a full. Yeah. Sorry, what? But with all, but, no, no, but they do. There's a sense of like, you would get a theme. So my favorite actually that I ever went to was, they call it Friday Night Madness, and it was mathematical madness. So you would get a mathematical formula at the beginning of the week, and you would write a play about that mathematical formula by Friday. And so you'd have to. Well, that was the point, right? Was to make it so that they would really have, but they were these sort of, it wasn't just like A plus B equals. They had to understand the formula as well, or the mathematical principle. I think is more what it was. And the preface. So the playwright that's in charge of it would do a preface, and they would say, He said, I wanted to see the certainty of mathematics with the uncertainty of life. I wanted to see what my peers could do with that, and it just turned out beautifully. I cried a lot. So the what that gives you is a sense of, I can do this. I can do this every week without fail. And then what would happen is you'd take that 5-minute play and you'd make a 90-minute play out of it. So you'd start there and move out. So really prolific work. They actually win a lot of awards out of that program, and I think that a big part of it is production. Just do it. And that's what I like about Nano. That's what I love about this feeling, is that you can think about it all day, and it's not going to make you a playwright. Starting a play on Monday and publishing it on Friday, fully cast with lighting, that's what makes you a playwright. Writing a novel is what makes you a novelist. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's really yeah.
And like having like a specific topic that I would do this spring.
Mm-hmm.
And it's only the so
Mm-hmm. What? Well, I just have to ask, are you moving to Ramburn? I know we didn't talk on Friday. Are you moving to Ramburn? Okay. Okay, good. Not that Ramburn isn't great, it's just not where you want to be. So, I don't know, you looked at a house over there, but you weren't convinced. Okay. Okay. Well, then, Yeah. Right. Well, enjoy your house. Are you leaving? Is that what you're doing? What? Okay. Bye. Beatrice, we're on our own again. We're on our own. You got to hold it down. Why are you being weird right now? Oh, you want me to scratch your tummy? You're welcome. You know, it's nice to have somebody in your life who's so uncomplicated that this tummy rub is what's going to make them happy. Why doesn't this work with anyone else in my life? I love it. All right, I'm not writing because you're on my lap. Who's in here? Who's writing with me? Jessica, are you still writing with me? I hope so. I hope so. I got my manuscript here, working on my scene. Start talking to myself though at the same time. Okay, I'm gonna finish this page, and then I may rant some more. That seems likely. Okay. I'm trying to turn this in such a way that it makes more sense. Okay. Yay, writing. See? You write, I write. You write, I write. I hope there's some poor schmuck writer who turns on this whole live stream. Like every night they just play it again, and it's just Rachel being like, that's how playwriting gets done. And then you're like, yes. And then you write the great American novel. That's what I'm hoping for here. So, writing. Are you writing? You person who just joined? Are you writing? Because it's writing time. I can inspire you with many more stories about how one just needs to get down to the practice of writing if needed. You just let me know. Or you can just look at my dog and how cute she is. I don't know what to do now. Okay, here I go. People wildly underestimate how hard it is to just be on stream like this. It is its own kind of skill and its own kind of anxiety. I know this because we had to do some hiring, so we had to do some interviews, and so many fantastic applicants. Thank you, Carrollton. But it was really hard to do interviews, not just from our end, but people did not feel like they could. I could tell that people who were very gregarious and very good in interviews were struggling to come up with extended answers to questions just because the format is so weird and it's so jarring. So that's its own skill. We're actually thinking about doing a workshop on that because there's no other way to practice than to just do it. This is what I'm going to rant about all day today. Apparently, is that sometimes just doing it is the next step instead of worrying about it. It's just doing it. So I hope you're writing, people out there, right now. Okay. Coffee. It's very important. Mm-hmm. Hello, person who just joined me. There's another tick. I think that that's telling me that a new person is here as opposed to, I'm just writing right now. But if you have questions about writing, I will gladly and probably ad nauseum answer them. It might be more than you asked for. If you were like, why do you write, in the comments, I would probably aggressively answer that question. Yeah. And you should be writing too. Just whoever, wherever, everyone should be writing all the time. It should just be a thing that gets done more often. This is something that I lament culturally. Not enough writing. Not enough writing circles either. I need a good writing circle. I used to have one, an excellent writing circle. But then it's so intense, I think, the process of writing communally and just holding on to those deadlines. I gave birth, and that seemed to have really slowed down my writing output. Therefore, I never really was able to reconnect. And that stinks, because I enjoyed it a lot. writing. I'm writing in. If you would like to talk to us about some writing, I will gladly talk to you about it. All day, actually. I only have until noon, but the odds that I will continue to yammer on about the incredibleness that is just getting the practice of writing done, or discussing all the finer points of, writing books, authors, and such, I kind of can't stop myself. So, anyway, get a pen, get some paper, start writing. Oh, hey, another new person. Get some paper, sit down. Actually, you know what? Most people don't get a pen and paper. That's just me. Oh, but this is a fancy one. See? I'm pretty excited about it. I don't know why. Get a pen and paper or a laptop like a normal person and write your great American novel. That's what we're here to do. Or something. Anything. Mandy was journaling earlier. That makes sense. All right. I'm gonna keep writing. No one's talking to me though. People are like popping in and out. I got people here, but no one is commenting in the comments. I'm really gonna need that. I'm really gonna need that love. Yeah. If y'all could just open up about your writing process. I'd really like to know. What are y'all writing? What are y'all working on? Because I don't really think that Nano has to necessarily be one specific kind of project. I think that that's really narrow, and I don't think that basically Nano is actually a nonprofit organization. You can actually go online and order stuff from them, like t-shirts and mugs, and that's how and donate to them. And that's how they make their money. And they just kind of promote writing across the world in different capacities. But I don't think that they're that narrow about it either. If it doesn't work for you, they have alternative projects that they promote. There's also Camp Nano. So Nanowrimo is November. And it's a big push. Normally there would be all these write-ins all across the state. Atlanta is incredibly active in Nano. And usually there's a strong Nano chapter in university towns. So there's one in Kennesaw. There's one in Athens, obviously. And you're always welcome to join in to those because they're very open. You just basically go onto Nano and designate a particular location as your home location. But West Georgia actually doesn't have a community on Nano or a municipal liaison. So we are categorized in West Georgia as Nanowrimo Georgia Elsewhere. So it's a big catch-all group for every person who doesn't fall under a specific municipal area that has its own community. Basically, what it takes to become a community is to have somebody sort of argue that they will be your what's called a municipal liaison that organizes your chapter, and we just don't really have that in West Georgia because it is a really, really big responsibility. So the libraries of West Georgia are working really hard to kind of fill that gap because it is a gap that we can fill. It makes sense as a partnership for us to be available for creating events and that sort of thing. And normally there would be a lot more events. Last year there were write-ins at New Georgia Library. Obviously there was a write-in at Carrollton. We actually did the write-in at I can't remember words this morning. The cafe downtown. What is wrong with me? But not the corner cafe, but the Gallery Row. Thank you. Gallery Row. And I was actually there. I typically do write-ins for 8 hours, a whole Saturday. And this is my 4th year to do a write-in. I'm just really passionate about it. That passion is really vindicated a lot because projects do come out of Nano. And not just Nano, but there's actually in a lot of industries and a lot of places, there's this need for quiet, this need for doing Cal Newport has a really great book called Deep Work. I actually think I'm going to go back and read it again. But deep work is just that there's not a lot of space set aside in our contemporary culture for having that kind of depth of engagement with any one particular task, and we lose a lot by not being able to do that. So finding time to answer all of my emails. In case you're wondering, when you email the library, you're actually emailing me directly. So when I get to work in the morning, I've got all these emails that are like, there's something wrong with my card. I don't know how to, which is all things that I do want to hear about those things. But what I have to do is to say, this is my time to answer all those questions. Now I need to move on to this really mentally challenging task, like choosing all the books that we have to order for the library, which that's something that I do. It's part of my job description. So making sure that all of children's and all of you are all covered is actually kind of a deep work task. Writing a novel is a deep work task. You have to be able to sit down and focus on it. So I would really recommend, if you're struggling with that, Cal Newport's book, Deep Work. There's another one that I just read called Great at Work. And Mandy Johnson, who's our programming coordinator, we were just talking about it because there's a really great story in there just that really exemplifies the importance of focus and how it does really affect your ability to complete what you've set out to do, especially if what you've set out to do is a big, challenging task. If what you've set out to do is the laundry, you don't need a tremendous amount of focus. But if you want to be great at any kind of work, then you really need some focus. So I'm going to tell you the story that's in this book. Race to the South Pole. There's a Norwegian and an Englishman, and they both have groups they're sending out to the South Pole in order to be the first person to plant their flag in the South Pole. So the English are twice as funded. They have this is in 1916, I think. So they have 40,000 pounds at their disposal. They have 69 people. They have sledges. They have ponies. They have dogs. They have an incredible amount of supplies with them. They are ready to go because these are all things that are used to trek across that landscape of the South Pole very effectively. So the Norwegians have 19 people. They have just dogs. That's it. And they beat the English by 30 days. 30 days to the South Pole. That's the difference between them. And what Great at Work, I'm trying to remember. It's the same person who wrote Great by Choice. It's the same sort of mentality. Do research for corporations and do 360 evaluations of work, and then publish about your findings. Same sort of thing. So what he's arguing is that the Norwegians focused on dogs. They were like, we're going to get the best dogs in the world. They spent 2 years learning from the Inuit how to race those dogs and treat those dogs and get them to do what they wanted them to do, because dogs can be a little bit fickle, actually. I did not know this. But once they invested in, they said dogs are the best way, they invested in it. And the British had 4 different ways to get to the South Pole. One of those ways was ponies. And they had their dog expert go buy the ponies. Well, the dog expert didn't know anything about ponies. He just bought ponies. And not only that, but they're very slow. They're slower than dogs, obviously, So they're a great, very dependable way of getting to the South Pole. But they're slow. So you have your fast, non-dependable version. You have your slow, very dependable version. And they're both going at the same time. It just doesn't work. So actually the English ended up dying. In this story, in case you're wondering, in 1916, that expedition, not only did they fail and not get to the South Pole first, but they also all perished because they, instead of focusing on one task and getting all the way through with one task, they focused on all these different methods. They used their money to buy a big boat to make sure that it was all the biggest. They took 69 people instead of 19 people. And all of the English died. There's a person who just joined in the middle of this story, and I have a feeling that they are very confused right now. I'm telling a story about the race to the South Pole and how the Norwegians had a lot of focus and the English didn't. And so the Norwegians won, and then they also didn't die, which is nice too. It's a nice benefit. And this metaphor is what I'm going to use to say, sit down, write, focus on the work, on one piece of work. That's something that writers have a really hard time with. I do too. I have these plot bunnies, and then I'm like, oh, I should write about that. And really, no, I should finish what I'm doing, and I should finish it. My problem is actually the finishing. So I can focus on one work, but really, this is my 4th time to go through and edit the text. I'm done. I'm not going to do it anymore. This is it. And I'm using NaNoWriMo as my deadline for actually completing this 330-page text. We're going to be done now. I'm out. And that's also really important, is feeling like you can put a button on something and close it down. And that's something that comes up a lot, actually, in library work as well as in writing work, that there's always something more that you can do to make something better. But sometimes you just have to move on to the next need, because there's always a new need, a new group that needs to be served. So being able to button something is an incredible adulting life skill that I do not think I'm the only one that struggles with, right? And I think this happens a lot to writers, that they want to get that perfect scene, and then they just spend all this time on the scene, and then nothing happens. You know what's a great book for that, actually? Elizabeth Gilbert's Big Magic is really good. And then Cleon, what is his first name? It's called Show Your Work. Really quick read. He's a visual artist, he's kind of a graphic designer. So a lot of it is just very visually compelling. It's just show your work, just do it. And it's really great and inspiring. And actually a lot of libraries have it. So I would recommend just giving it a glance. Nano is the perfect time to get something like, I'm trying to remember. Let me flip over to here, a different page, and see. Austin Kleon is his name. I was going to say Anton Kleon, and that's not right. But yeah, you should, let me actually just link that in the chat here. It's a sequel. He's got 3 books. Keep Going, Steal Like an Artist, and Show Your Work. This is actually something that I really needed affirmation on. Was the content of Steal Like an Artist. Let me click on that one too. Because I had in my mind as a young person, that I no longer am. There you go. Wow, that's long. That's not what I meant to. Okay. That all of my work needed to be entirely original, but it really, really doesn't. What you need is something familiar, and then put your own spin on it. Do it better. No artist has ever done something entirely original, and when you really think about it, that's extremely true. Even someone like Philip Glass, their work isn't coming out of nowhere. It is a shift from a musical tradition that already exists. So when you hear someone like Mozart, it's coming from a tradition that already exists. He's very much bound up in the Enlightenment as well, his work. So my work did not have to be an entirely original concept, mostly because readers can't really follow you there. I've written some really bizarre experimental stuff, and no one liked it. No one, 0 humans thought it was compelling, because it was too far outside of what they could bring to it. So what your readers do is they bring an entire set of expectations, and it's your job as an artist to manipulate those expectations. So a good example, the example that's coming to my mind right now, is the movie The Sixth Sense. So it is incredibly successful and compelling to people, not because it was something entirely new, but because it took the genre of kind of psychological thriller and horror, and it tweaked it just a little bit and beyond your expectations. It did not reinvent the wheel, but that's what makes it so compelling, because it's a relationship between the writer and the reader. The reader is bringing with them this whole body of text and literature to the conversation. So a nice another example of that might be something like, I just read Beach Read, which is a breezy, you know, little romance. It's nice. It's actually a nice little read. Romance is those sort of beachy romances are kind of a new genre for me to read. So Beach Read is very simple premise, boy meets girl, blah. We've been there before. In this case, it's a romance writer and a literary writer get together, and they take on the other person's genre to see who can write it better, basically. This is the premise of this cute little romance. And what we bring to that is that I've read literary works, and I know the style, I know the genre, I know the attitude and the treatment of those authors, how those authors are celebrated in a different way than a romance author is celebrated by its community and by critics. I'm bringing all that information to the table, and then she is manipulating that to bring that pleasure in the read. So she's expecting me to understand a lot of things about the way that literature is discussed, and to bring that intelligence. And it's just a lot of respect for that. If you think that you're writing something entirely original, it's disrespectful to your reader to think that you can do that. Does that make sense? Let me actually just put a couple other books in the chat. Okay. So this is another really great book, Big Magic, and it's by Elizabeth Gilbert. Maybe. Oh, I did that wrong. I meant to click on it. Click on it here. I wonder if I can delete that. Mandy would know. I've read The Signature of All Things, and that's the only book. Can I delete this? Delete. That's the only book I've actually read by Elizabeth Gilbert besides Big Magic. So I have not. She's also she's a person who wrote Eat, Pray, Love, but she wrote this incredible kind of breezy book about the creative process. And she is, Elizabeth Gilbert, I think most people know, is a little bit on the side of spiritual. She's a spiritually driven person, right? You can see that in Eat, Pray, Love. I've seen the movie. I haven't read the book. You can see that though in her memoir of that, and you can also read it in The Signature of All Things. I think a lot of people are surprised by her sort of taking in spirituality. So I'm actually more driven as a writer, at least, by arguments of sort of intellectual. I'm what they call an INTJ in the Myers-Briggs personality test, which is the most scientifically driven personality type. But I actually found her prose to be very convincing and inspiring. So she really knows what she's doing as a writer, and talks a lot about the process and the value of that process. You know what? One book I did read that did not work for me. Some books that I've read on writing that do not work for me. Bird by Bird. Everyone loves Bird by Bird. I hate it. And that's because it verged on hokey to me. I was like, this is not teaching me anything about how to write. This is just a meandering treatise on the value of words. Like, what are we doing? What is the goal here? What's the plan? So I don't like Bird by Bird because it's a little too, I don't know what the word is. A little too much. Just too much. Someone is texting me. That's so exciting. It's just my mother. It's my mother. That's who texts me. I really need more coffee. Let's see. Yeah, that did not work for me as inspiration, but Steal Like an Artist does, because it's pretty brief, pretty quick. And Big Magic does. Matt Bird's book does. And The Magic Words as well. Let me go over here. These are my favorites. By Cheryl Klein. Klein, if I can spell that correctly. Cheryl Klein is great. She also has a blog that you can subscribe, or a newsletter that you can subscribe to, and she thinks very deeply about writing, the writing process. She is exceedingly intelligent, but her work is mostly focused on children and young adults. So if you're interested in writing for children, writing for young adults, she actually breaks down very specifically. If you're writing a juvenile work, this is the type of point A, point B, point C, what you're going to want to see. If you're writing a young adult work, it's about going away. If you're writing a juvenile work, it's about going away and returning. So if something like Harry Potter, you go out into the world and then you come back to the safety of home, as opposed to young adult is a lot about going out and then creating a new home and then going out. And then the same thing happens with new adult. When you hit that sort of 18 to 22 range, 25 range, of course, it's about creating your own family, because that's the point in your life where you are. You're leaving your original family and going out and creating a new social circle, and the importance of developing those social relationships in a lasting way that's healthy can be very challenging, and that's what those books are mostly about. Creating adulthood a little bit and what that means, and inventing yourself as an adult. So she talks a little bit about that, but mostly it's about the children, and it's like, it should be this many words. So she's actually an editor, a children's literature editor, as well as a writer. She wrote a really cute kids book recently about trucks, thunder trucks. So the clouds are actually full of thundering trucks. If you're interested in easy picture books, that's a picture book she just recently wrote, but she's written other books like that. Really brilliant. Okay, so those are kind of my favorites. There's a lot of good ones, but I think that those are my favorite ones. So if you were going to just read, let me find Matt Bird's book. The Secrets of Story. Yes, I love The Secrets of Story. If you were going to listen to or read just one, did I do it? I didn't do it. I didn't do it. Book about writing. I would actually just not read one book about writing. Just don't. If you're just going to read one book about writing, you should probably not start. I would read Big Magic and Matt Bird's The Secrets of Story. Those are my two. Those are my two recommendations for everyone to read all the time. I'm gonna keep writing now for a minute. I've done like 3 pages. Okay. Okay. I should not have been left alone to do this. Listen, I know it's weird. I know it's weird to sit here and stare at my face, do the work that needs to get done, but it needs to get done. And it gets done better together. So there. I'm holding you accountable. I'm holding you accountable for every word. Keep writing. Hey, are you getting distracted and not writing? Are you all writing out there? It's very important that you continue. Don't get distracted, even by me. Even though I'm about to tell a story. I'm about to rant about something. So that's happening because I've completed an entire page. So therefore, you're gonna have to hear about it. So I was thinking about just how much time I spent in college writing, just creating works, creating worlds. And then it's like, I don't seem to have the brain space anymore for it. I don't seem to have the tenacity for it anymore. And it's just such a practice thing that it's really hard to get back into. So this is the struggle that I'm having. I don't know if anyone else is having this struggle, but you should all practice constantly. If you are interested in writing in any way, it's just got to be a part of your daily routine. It just really does. And one of the things that I really like about write-ins, and that I do believe in write-ins, is that it's practiced together. And actually, one of my the playwright that I wrote my dissertation on, his name is Eric N. Very nice, very just ethical kind of person. He's very interested in ethics, but he also writes very ethically. Has really proven this to be true in all sorts of creative genres, because he runs writing workshops that are really just tiny nanos. So it's a whole weekend. You do nothing but write. You get snacks in the room, but there's all these kinds of rules. You cannot talk in the room. You cannot bring this. You cannot bring that into the space. It's just you sit down and you write at your desk. You're kind of assigned a space. Obviously, this is not happening quarantine. And then they also do it where it's whole weeks, and it's kind of a meditative thing where you don't talk at all from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. or something like that. And you'll do maybe a lecture at the beginning of the day on writing, and maybe get some tips and writing prompts and inspiration. And then the rest of the day you don't speak. And sometimes they treat it really like camp. It's at a lake, and you're hanging out at the lake, and you're diving into the lake, and you're experiencing the lake, but you're not talking at all to each other. And my understanding is that it's extremely effective. And in fact, a lot of really loved and produced plays have come out of these workshops. You can write a whole play in 20 hours. You can. Or a draft of one anyway, front to back. And it's the same thing with, you can write a whole novel in a month. It's a certain amount of attention that you just have to give. But I do think that there is value in writing together, even though we're writing apart. We're sitting in our own little corner. And I really, really missed that this year. Of all the things that I'm missing right now, from not being together and being appropriately socially distanced, not having a creative network available has been especially hard this year. I was really looking forward to doing some creative work, and that is not going to happen. And I know that everybody will have a hard time during the holidays. I guess maybe something that's specific to me, because I think there's a lot of people that are missing things like if you were really into indoor soccer or something, and it's a very nice sport. I enjoy it very much. But if that was kind of your thing, your outlet, that's a lot harder to do in this environment responsibly. Or if you were really into going out to eat with your friends every Friday night, and then that became very challenging. For some reason, this is my thing that I'm really struggling to miss. And just the creative process with others, and getting good feedback in person, and being able to give good feedback. I really, really love reading other people's work and digging in. So that's actually what I did in graduate school, especially with my master's degree. My master's degree is in theater history for criticism, and we were paired kind of with a playwrights program. So there were two of us that were going through the kind of dramaturgy program, and then there were 8 playwrights in my class. So a small side note on dramaturgy. So dramaturgs are a kind of theater-specific position, because a lot of times plays come to a house, or plays have a different kind of life than, say, a novel does. So a novel goes to a publishing house. They have an editor in-house that will check historical accuracy, that will check language, that will help you kind of talk through the work. And then that editor will manage how the life of the work, how the population might see it, and they'll kind of create an aesthetic for it in a way as well. And obviously there are other people in that business that create the covers and create the back content and link it and that sort of stuff. In the theater, that is actually just really one person who does that. So a dramaturg can either be a production dramaturg, where they just deal with the that specific work. So let's say that somebody brings a Brecht show, Love Me Some Brecht, Bertolt Brecht, to a particular theater house that I work for. Let's say the Alliance, because I worked for them for a little bit. We want to do a Brecht show at the Alliance. So Brecht, I mean, that's the 40s, but you really have to, a lot of it is 40s, 50s, but 30s, 40s, 50s. But you have to know a lot about German history in order to understand a Brecht show. You have to know a lot about European history and theater history to understand Brecht and to do it well. So a production dramaturg would create, depending on the show and the person, maybe like a 70-page document that has all the cultural references, all the historical references, context for the show, previous production stills, that sort of thing. Create it, put it together, compile it in a way that's readable and that you can attach to, and give it to the cast. So the cast would, every time they come to a word that's weird or that they don't understand in or that maybe is interesting, it's like, this is the word in English, this is the word in German, this is how they're different. That you would bring that to the production team, and then they would have that to contextualize the work that they were doing. You might also create content like a dramaturg's note that would go into the production materials that would go out to the audience. So it would be just a little note that would be like, this is a little bit about Brecht and why he's important and what we want to say about him in this piece. And this is who Galileo is, because he wrote a play on Galileo. It's actually my favorite Brecht play is Galileo. And it's much more complicated than some other portrayals of Galileo, because I think what a lot of people forget is that Galileo was awful. So part of the problem that the church had with Galileo, everybody's like, oh, he was a righteous crusader, but he was also just a terrible person. And most of the issues that the church had with him was that he was kind of the worst. So they're like, stop being the worst. And he's like, I can't. And they're like, well, this is going to be an issue for us. So it's just more complicated, as most things are. And actually, Brecht does a good job of reflecting on if you have some interesting ideas and you want to get them out to the world, you have to convince people, not make people hate you. That would have been great, Galileo, if you could have managed that. He could not. So anyways, that's why it's a great piece. But Mother Courage is also by Brecht, in case you're interested. So that's a production dramaturg. But then there's also kind of a playwriting dramaturg, and then that's much closer to a book editor. So they would sit down with the playwright and be like, this is the part where I didn't feel like the audience was with you entirely. This scene dragged on a little bit. I'm not quite sure about this word choice. It doesn't feel true to the character. But it can also just be, you can get as specific as you want to. And a lot of dramaturgs are very detail-oriented people. So they'll be like, oh, it says that there's a full moon in 1927 on August 10th in the script. I'm using this with my hand. I wonder if that's actually what happened. Nope, it was on August 12th. This is an actual experience I had as a dramaturg. And then it's like, you know what? We're going to let it slide. Let it slide. Another thing that dramaturgs do is say there's a Greek play like Iphigenia or something like that. Then you would say, I like this version more than this version. I actually did this for the Alliance. I did a full comparison of both versions of Candide, where I just went line by line. Like, this is because there are two versions of Bernstein's Candide from different years, and they were trying to decide, well, which one fits better with our stuff. So they shopped that out to me, and I did a line by line comparison of the two works so that they could then have an informed decision about which one to do. Anyway, that's what dramaturgs do. I love collaborating with other creatives so much that I went to school just to learn how to do it. I did not go to school to be a playwright. I went to school to help other playwrights write the best plays. That's an actual thing that in theater you can get a degree in dramaturgy. I mean, mine was in theater history and criticism, but we functioned as dramaturgs. And that's actually why I went. So, all that to say, if you have a creative work and you want somebody to take a look at it, I'm probably a good person to do that. That is actually a skill that I farm out. I actually use it all the time because my husband is a historical lead-driven YouTube content creator, and I edit all of his material before it goes out into the world. So that's my editing other people's creative works is my side hustle. That's a thing that I do daily. So if you're looking for somebody to take a look at your stuff, I'm not volunteering to read everyone's novels, okay? But if there's some problems you want to talk through in your script / novel or short story, I'm exceedingly happy to do just that. You should know. And I will definitely talk about craft all day. It's kind of a problem I have. And again, I would definitely recommend Secrets of Story because it's very practical. Here's a tidbit that I thought, some tidbits I thought were interesting from that book. One of them is never have a scene in a kitchen. And he's not saying never. In fact, I have, in this manuscript, I have two scenes in the kitchen. It's because he doesn't want you to have scenes in safe spaces. So if you have 3 members of a family who have no sort of beef with one another and you're having a scene in a kitchen, then there's no sense that anything more can happen in that space. So you just really, really want to be careful that you're creating circumstances where there is tension. So his solution, if you're going to have a scene in a kitchen, is somebody had better be holding a knife, whether they're going to use that knife or not. And it's a nice image to kind of carry with you. Okay, this scene feels a little bit too safe, you know. So what can I do to make it a little less safe for everyone? So not necessarily a literal knife, but in some way there needs to be a knife. So for me, my kitchen scenes are 4 people who live in the house, 5 people who live in the house, and then a new person walks in. So there's my knife. Just walk through the door. So it is not a safe space to the protagonist because she is the new person in the room. It will become more safe later. Does that make sense? Yeah. Safer later. Another one that I thought was really interesting is that not all conversations are linear, and that sometimes your dialogue can read a bit hamstrung if it is. So every time someone says one thing, then a lot of times people will write the automatic response, the rational response and reply. But actually, a lot of times conversations are kind of overlapping, and a lot of times they're just non sequitur. So one person will be talking about one thing, another person will be talking about another thing. And actually, Quentin Tarantino does this really well. And they're not even listening to each other at all. They're not really having the same conversation. Doing that well is really challenging, but it's actually much more natural to conversation. And it reads a lot better. And it also helps you through the problem of a lot of times tension in novels, especially in kind of sweet romance, will come from misunderstandings. And that can be very cliche to a reader. So in order to get around these obvious misunderstandings, like if 2 people just talk to each other, it would just be fine. These sort of non sequitur conversations are really helpful in offering them a lot of baggage. Actually, another sort of sweet romance that does that really well is Pride, Prejudice, and Other Flavors, which is kind of a contemporary Indian American take on Pride and Prejudice. And there's a Sense and Sensibility sequel to that. And they're both really good because that depends on is that there's a lot of complicated baggage being brought to the table that's making the 2 characters not be able to meet, which is a lot more authentic than if only they just have a phone call. We could get out of this scene. Please get us out of the scene. Which a lot of writers can fall into. Anyway, so The Secret of the Story is highly recommended for working through having an image to hold on to that helps you work through a lot of these very practical problems that authors find themselves slamming into constantly. I do, at least. So that's a highly recommended one. It's very point. And it's also what I like about the magic words. Big Magic is a little bit less. It's much more tone and inspiration. And I just think that's a good book to have on your list, because you need a little bit of that. Everybody apparently does. I think I need less of it than most people, but the Clayon works are good for that as well. I'm going to repost the Google Meets link here so that people can find it if they want it. I'm going to post it in the chat. I am interested if anybody out there has a favorite book about writing. I'm always looking for, I love books about writing and about the creative process. And I also just find a lot of inspiration from books about getting work done. So that's why I like Cal Newport's Deep Work, because I can read it a few pages at a time every day and be like, I'm going to do some deep work today. And that process of feeding books feed me that way. And I think a lot of people find that to be the case. So Deep Work is good for that, as is Great at Work. And then there's another one, Alter Ego. It's really, really helpful if you're in a position where you find yourself experiencing stakes, and you need to put on a persona that will help you achieve those stakes without having to have a lot of anxiety about it. So Alter Ego is really, really good for that. And I think a lot of people can benefit from having these alter egos. And in fact, that's something that's in this text that I've written. The protagonist creates alter egos in order to be, say, on stream, like I'm doing now. It is, my throat's getting dry. It means I'm talking too much. It is interesting to me that I have now revealed more about my past as a dramaturg and what dramaturgy is to this stream than to anyone in like 6 years. What is your problem? Is there a cat somewhere in the universe that needs you to growl at it? Yeah, we have neighbor cats. Oh my gosh, we have neighbors. Everyone's got neighbors. You want to say hi? I'm scratching her tummy, so she'll do whatever. She'll be in whatever position seems most appropriate to get a tummy rub. Oh, good. Oh, yeah. Let's see. Tummy looks good. I think you're okay. As you were. As you were, dog. Okay. I'm going to write for a little bit. I've reached a point in the writing where I'm kind of questioning if I need to add a line or not. What do you think? Add a line, don't add a line. Add a line. It's like a block of dialogue where there's only two people in the conversation, so they're just kind of going back and forth. So it's very much like a play. I have a tendency to do that because I like it. I like to read it that way. But a lot of times that means that I edit out the pauses, conversational pauses, and that works in theater because you can add it back in as an actor. You can find those pauses. That's half the job of an actor. Acting is an incredibly challenging profession. So I don't want to undermine that at all. But in this case, I think I might need to do a little bit more work. I'll give it a try. If it doesn't work, I'll just take it out, right? I don't know if that's my best work. I would read it out loud to you, but it's not going to help because you're not going to know where I am in this narrative journey. This is why I need writing buddies. Be my buddy. find that I often write too many words in a sentence to get it across. I don't know why I feel like that makes it sound better, but just rearranging the sentence so that the nouns are in the right place does wonders for my writing. Why didn't I just do it that way in the first place? Now I'm having a logic problem. So I think that I said Greek here and I'm saying Brazilian here. In the context of this manuscript, that's a mistake one can make. Because they're at an international event and it's not important, but I want them to match. It's not important who the opponent is. Should be on page 271. This error. Yeah, the Koreans are gonna. So think of it like the Olympics. Doesn't matter that they're Brazilians, but I'm gonna go with Greeks. Because everybody knows Brazilians play. And maybe people don't know that the Greeks play too. So we'll keep it Greek. Oh, I'm done. Let me fix this one thing. It says in a frenzy, and I just don't think that that's. I'm trying to imply speed, not tone. So that doesn't sound right either. Part of my problem is that my tone and the text tone are wildly different. There's a lot of language that I would use that I can't really put in here. It's just not in the architecture of that language. So I use more luxurious words, and the manuscript is very clipped and colloquial, let's say. And that is its own kind of challenge, but I don't, it started out sounding like me. That's just not, it didn't work for the tone of the piece because it is very, it's about video games. So there's a certain kind of brash tone required that I don't personally have. So I'm trying to infuse as much of that as possible without sort of losing my voice. So that's a whole different. I'd love to chat with whoever about it. So that's it. That's my 2 hours of writing, write-a-thon. It's actually been really nice. I got to talk about a subject that I'm really, really passionate about, even if it isn't a really unorthodox and unstructured scenario. It is something that I do know a lot about. I really do. And I studied it, and I mean, I really have dedicated a lot of my life to helping other writers find their voice. So, and take their works from draft to stage, or from draft to professional object. My previous writing partners will probably talk about that ad nauseum. Like, Rachel's kind of brutal. Know that Rachel's kind of brutal. So if you bring it to me, it could be painful. That's what I do. And I don't apologize for that, because you're tough, and you're smart, and you deserve the best work from me. Right? Anyway, thank you all, the people who dropped in, even if it was just for a little while, and chatted with me. So check out these awesome books. We have all of them somewhere in the system. They're all really pretty accessible. And if you want more book recommendations, I'm up for that. And have a good day. Bye. Keep reading.